Trump launched the most aggressive trade war in 80 years. Chinese exports to America dropped 20%. But someone else's exports went up 40%, and it's not who you think. In 2025, America's average tariff rate hit 16.1%, the highest since 1946. 47.5% on Chinese goods alone. 300,000 importers scrambling. The goal was simple: punish China, bring manufacturing home, make America build things again. It didn't work. Not even close. Manufacturing didn't come home. It moved sideways. And the country that captured the most? A narrow strip of land in Southeast Asia, with a population younger than the internet. Vietnam just won the biggest economic lottery in modern history, and most Americans don't even know it happened. Here's the mechanism nobody's explaining. When America slapped 47.5% tariffs on Chinese goods, Chinese manufacturers didn't shut down. They didn't move to Ohio. They moved their final assembly line 600 miles south to Vietnam. Same factories in Shenzhen making the components, same engineers designing the products. But the last step, the part where you screw in the final bolt and slap on the label, that happens in Hanoi now. It's called tariff arbitrage. A product that's 90% made in China gets assembled in Vietnam, stamped Made in Vietnam, and sails into American ports at a fraction of the tariff. The components cross the border once. The finished product crosses the ocean once. And the tariff? Drops from 47% to nearly zero. On paper, Chinese exports dropped 20%. In reality, those same products just took a detour. The tariff wall has a massive hole in it, and it's shaped like Vietnam. Samsung saw this coming years ago. They moved their entire smartphone production to Vietnam before the trade war even started. Now, Vietnamese exports to America have surged 40%. Factories are springing up faster than the roads to reach them. Foreign direct investment into Vietnam hit record highs in 2025, not because Vietnam suddenly invented something, because it became the world's most convenient loophole. But this isn't just about Chinese companies gaming the system. Vietnam was ready for this moment. And the reason why is the biggest irony in American trade policy. In 2017, Trump pulled America out of the Trans-Pacific Partnership, now called CPTPP. He called it a terrible deal. Vietnam stayed in. So did Japan, Australia, Canada, and 8 other nations. That agreement slashed tariffs between member countries, gave Vietnam preferential access to markets America voluntarily abandoned. While Washington was building walls, Hanoi was building bridges. And Vietnam had spent the previous decade preparing the ground. New deep-water ports along the coast, industrial zones, with tax-free incentives for foreign manufacturers, a young workforce willing to work for a fraction of American wages. Average manufacturing labor in Vietnam costs about $2.70 an hour. In the United States, over $30. That's not a gap, that's a canyon. The result? Nike now makes more shoes in Vietnam than in China. Intel's largest chip assembly plant in the world is in Ho Chi Minh City. Apple is shifting iPad and AirPod production to Vietnamese factories. These aren't small moves. These are permanent structural shifts in the global supply chain. Vietnam isn't the only winner. Taiwan's exports to the United States surged 61%. And the reason is far more dangerous: semiconductors. The tariffs pushed American companies to deepen their dependency on Taiwanese chips at exactly the moment when China is threatening to invade Taiwan. TSMC, the company that manufactures over 90% of the world's most advanced chips, is now more critical to American supply chains than ever before. Every data center, every AI server, every military system runs on chips from a small island 90 miles off the Chinese coast. The trade war was supposed to reduce American vulnerability. Instead, it concentrated it. If China blockades Taiwan tomorrow, the American tech industry doesn't slow down, it stops. No phones, no AI training, no fighter jet electronics. The tariffs didn't diversify the supply chain. They hardened a single point of failure at the worst possible time. And while corporations rerouted their supply chains and Vietnam celebrated record growth, who actually paid for Trump's tariffs? American families. Tariffs aren't paid by China. They're paid by the American importer, who passes the cost to the American consumer. Your laptop, your clothes, your children's toys, all more expensive. The numbers are brutal. The average American household is absorbing $1,300 per year in higher costs. That's not a political talking point. That's the estimate from the Budget Lab at Yale. For a family earning $50,000 a year, that's a 2.6% pay cut that nobody voted for. And the legal foundation is crumbling. Trump invoked the International Emergency Economic Powers Act to justify the tariffs. That law was designed for wartime sanctions, not trade policy. It's now being challenged at the Supreme Court. 300,000 importers, $1,300 per household, all resting on a legal mechanism that was never meant for this. So did any manufacturing come back to America? Some. A handful of semiconductor plants announced with massive government subsidies. A few steel mills reopened. But the overwhelming majority of companies that left China didn't choose America. They chose Vietnam, Mexico, India, Indonesia, every country with cheaper labor and fewer regulations. Mexico's imports to the US rose 5%. Southeast Asia broadly is surging. The global supply chain didn't reshorten, it just rerouted around the tariff wall. American consumers are paying higher prices for the same products made in different low-cost countries by the same multinational corporations that were making them in China. The only thing that changed is the shipping route and the flag on the label. This is the uncomfortable truth about the trade war. It wasn't won by America. It wasn't won by China. It was won by the countries nimble enough to stand in the middle and collect the arbitrage. Vietnam had the infrastructure, the trade deals, and the workforce. America had the tariffs and the bill. If you found this eye-opening, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into what's really happening in the global economy. Drop a comment below. Who do you think is really winning this trade war?